Gurubhyo Namaha. Vakratunda Mahakaya Koti Surya Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Jayanti Mangala Kali Bhadrakali Kapalini Durga Kshama Shiva Dhatri Swaha Swadha Namostute ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। विश्वं मायामयत्वेन रूपितं यत् प्रबोधतः विश्वं च यत्स्वरूपं तं वार्तिकाचार्यमाश्रये। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। श्री शंकराचार्याय नमः। श्री सुरेश्वराचार्याय नमः। Good morning and Shubhodaya. This is Nitin Sridhar, Director of Indica Center for Moksha Studies, and I welcome all of you to today's symposium on profound writings of Sri Sureshwaracharya. Sri Sureshwaracharya was a very great scholar and a philosopher of repute. He was the first Peethadhipati of the Dakshinamnaya Sringeri Sharadha Peetham, established by Sri Shankaracharya Bhagavadpada, who entrusted his Shishya Sureshwaracharya with the responsibility of spreading Sanatana Dharma and Vedanta. Sri Sureshwaracharya's contributions to Indian philosophy in general and to Advaita Vedānta in particular is both substantial and enduring. While his master, Bhagavadpada Shankaracharya, propounded the essentials of Advaita as enunciated in the Upanishads, Sureshwaracharya, through his works, reinforced and clarified his master's teachings by putting to rest various objections and various kind of diverse interpretations that could he anticipated as possible. So he did this especially through his metrical commentaries or vartikas on Bhagavadpada's two important works, namely the Taittiriya Upanishad Bhashya and Brihadaranyaka Upanishad Bhashya. These vartikas are seminal works that are philosophically brilliant and reinforces the very foundation of Vedanta, of the Upanishadic teachings, by meticulously and critically examining Bhagavadpadacharya's works, and this has made him popular as the Vartikakara in the Vedanta tradition. The details of Sri Sureshwaracharya remains largely obscure, but in the Vedanta tradition, it is held that before accepting Shankaracharya as his guru, Sureshwaracharya was called as Mandana Mishra, a prominent Mimamsaka scholar, a student of Kumarela Bhatta, another very great Mimamsa scholar. And Sureshwaracharya's life took a transformative turn after being defeated in a Vada, in a philosophical debate, by Shankaracharya, prompting Mandana Mishra to renounce his worldly life and embark on a spiritual path as a sannyasin with Shankaracharya as his guru, with the new name Sureshwara. Sureshwaracharya has authored as many as 8 prominent works, which include, as mentioned before, the Vartikas on the Taittiriya Upanishad Bhashyam and the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad Bhashyam. He has also written a Sambandha Vartika, which is basically a Vartika commentary on the Shankaracharya's introduction to the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Then he has written an independent work on Vedanta called Naishkarmya Siddhi. He has also written a Manasollasa, which is a commentary on Shankaracharya's Dakshinamurti Stotram. And Panchikaranam Vartika is again a commentary on Shankaracharya's short work called Panchikarana. And he has also written a Dharmashastra work called Balakrida, which is a commentary on Yagyavalkya Smriti. This particular work he has written, the author is named as Vishwarupacharya, who through various scholars have identified Vishwarupacharya as Sureshwaracharya himself. This symposium, we are hopeful that through this symposium, to today's various talks that we have curated, and we are very grateful to all the scholars and acharyas who have agreed to participate today. So through this symposium, we seek to highlight the philosophical brilliance and the immense contribution of the great master Sri Sureshwaracharya, and especially we want to shed light on some salient aspects of his writings and highlight his deep contribution to Vaidika Dharma as a whole, and especially to Vedanta tradition. So with this brief, very opening remarks, we are now ready to begin the program with our inaugural address. We are very fortunate today to have with us Swamini Brahmaprajnananda Saraswati ji as the chief guest to start this symposium with her inaugural address on the brilliance of Naishkarmya Siddhi of Sureshwaracharya. Amma, we are very fortunate to have you here. Thank you for making time at such a short notice for this program. A brief introduction to Swamini ji before we open the floor to her. Swamini Brahmaprajnananda Saraswati ji has dedicated her life to sharing the timeless teachings of Advaita Vedanta and Dharma. She conducts Vedanta courses, podcasts, retreats for groups in Mumbai and for people across the world online. Her teachings seamlessly flow from areas of self-growth to self-discovery. A disciple of Puja Swami Dayananda Saraswati ji of Arshavidya Parampara, she has studied Vedanta and Samskrita in a full-time residential 3 years course and was also a part-time student of Swami Brahmavidananda ji. Swamini is a former psychologist and in her last leadership position as the country head of an international organization impacted the lives of more than 15,000 street children annually. Swamini ji, again, thank you for making time for this session. Please go ahead and begin your session.
Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. We also do the opening verse of Naishkarmya Siddhi. Khanilagnyabdharityantam Srakphani vodgatam yataha Dhvantachide namastasmai Haraye buddhi sakshine. So it brings me so much happiness and delight to speak of the brilliance of Sri Sureshwaracharya in his works Naishkarmya Siddhi. I want to congratulate Indica Moksha to conceive of this symposium so that we may have the honor to share what Sureshwaracharya taught. Many years ago in Brazil, when I was conducting a Vedanta retreat with one of my batchmates, Jonas, I had a translator who was translating what I was saying in Portuguese. And at the end of the 15-day retreat, he did his namaskar and he did one more namaskar. So I said, what, I was just a little puzzled. So he said, I did the second namaskar because through my mouth, such words of wisdom were flowing. I am still a student of Vedanta, but because of this translation job that I had, just by the flow of these words of wisdom, my life has become dhanya because I had also done dhanyashtakam. So it is that kind of a blessing that we all have to be in the, to be a recipient of such blessings of our acharyas. So the opening verse of Naishkarmya Siddhi, brilliant. From there itself, Sureshwaracharya's brilliance is so evident. He says, I namastasmai haraye buddhi sakshine. How beautiful. So I offer my namaskara to Hari, who is the witness consciousness of the intellect. And interestingly, from whom the entire Jagat has come. So he includes, instead of saying the word Jagat, he says, oh, all your Akasha, Agni, Apa, Prithvi, etc., Vayu. So all of that has come. And interestingly, it has arisen just like a snake arises as though from a garland. That's the opening verse. That's our opening prayer. So the word Naishkarmya Siddhi, it could have arisen from the word in the Gita. Naishkarmya Siddhim Paramam Sannyasenadhi Gacchati, 18.49. So where Bhagwan is saying that the one who has certain qualifications, who is free from dependence, who has self-mastery, and from whom longing has gone, Adhigacchati gains Naishkarmya Siddhi. It sounds like a paradox because Naishkarmyam is actionlessness. So the accomplishment, Siddhi, of actionlessness. Now, how is that ever possible? And he says, by sannyasa, this is gained. It is the most exalted accomplishment. So all our things that we write in our CV and all, okay, or our experiences, all our vacations, etc., they are not accomplishments, really speaking. The greatest is Naishkarmya Siddhi. So we are aware that all Siddhi, all accomplishment is possible only through karma. Then what is this strange Naishkarmyam? That the nature of the accomplishment is actionlessness. Is it that I work like a dog and a donkey for my whole life and then my retirement will be actionlessness? Will that be Naishkarmyam? So obviously not. So then Naishkarmyam cha tat siddhihi, that actionlessness itself is the siddhi. How to get this? Oh, to recognize that you, as in the Atma, has always been Naishkarmyam. It is the self, the Atma is actionless. And this kind of gain is praptasya praptihi. You are not doing a lot for this. You are just recognizing the truth of yourself. So it is gained through samyak darshanam. Samyak darshanam, the clear, crystal clear vision of yourself as the ultimate reality that is pervading the entire world of names and forms. That is Satyam, that is you. So in the Bhashya also, Naishkarmya Siddhim Paramam Sannyasenadhi Gacchati, Shankaracharya writes. Now, Naishkarmya Siddhi is an independent work of Sureshwaracharya and it has gained a lot of appreciation from Shankaracharya himself. And of course, a lot of other acharyas. So what kind of a text is it? If we're looking at more or less the structure, it consists of 423 verses. A very unique feature of this text is that it has a gadya form, like a prose, and also padya form. Okay. So there are a lot of verses, like I said, 423. Then to connect some of the verses, there is what is called Sambandha Uktihi. So some linking of the verses is done in prose. And what is the purpose of that? The purpose is to introduce some of the verses, to connect the verses, to state some Purva Pakshas, and then respond with Siddhanta, our ascertained position. Sureshwaracharya himself makes it clear that Sambandhokti is not a commentary, but it is an essential part of the text. So loosely it follows Upadesha Sahasri of Shankara, particularly its 18th chapter. So the first Sambandhokti, the first paragraph itself is just so brilliant in presenting the human problem and the solution. So we see a little bit of that. आब्रह्मस्तम्भपर्यन्तैः सर्वप्राणिभिः सर्वप्रकारस्यापि दुःखस्य स्वरसत् एव जिहासितत्वात् निवृत्त्यर्थाः प्रवृत्तिः अस्ति स्वरसत् एव. So he starts with saying, all beings from Brahmaji Stambha Paryantam to the clump of grass instinctively want to avoid any and every kind of suffering, dukkha. But unfortunately, suffering is not removed because suffering is experienced by the deha. Why? Because deha has been caused by punya and papa. Purvopchita dharma. So dharma, punya, papa. Mulatvad anuchitihi. So much punya papa has been accumulated in the past and it just does not end. Then why did the person get this dharma, punya papa? Because the person did vihita and pratishiddha karma. He did karma that was enjoined and then that was prohibited. So, but why did he do that? Oh, because of binding desires in the form of raga and dvesha. So, lot of cravings are there, lot of aversions are there. They do not sit in the corner of your mind. They just propel you to act. Somebody said something to you, you just feel prompted to respond. So now why raga dveshas are there? And this is very beautiful. Shobhana ashobhana adhyasa nibandhanatvat. So very beautiful. So raga is there because there is shobhana adhyasa. Something, some situation, some person is considered to be so desirable that your whole life depends on it. So you are putting a value superimposition of goodness on that thing. And vice versa, there are some situations, some people on which there is a shobhana adhyasa. So it is considered to be horrible, terrible, worst. And therefore, you, like Pashu, you also move away from it. But why this shobhana or ashobhana adhyasa? Because it binds, there is nibandhana. So, but why it's there? It should not be there. No, it is there. Adhyasa is very much there because of Dvaitam. But why Dvaitam is there? Oh, because of avichara siddhihi. So there is no vichara, there is an absence of inquiry. Avicharita siddha dvaita vastu nimittatvat. So because there has been no inquiry whatsoever into this experience of life, therefore all of this happens. Okay. So now this, if Dvaita is the issue, the experience of duality, which creates conflict and suffering, then when is it going to end? So this duality, which is like the silver seed on the shell, it does not end. Why? No, it does end, but it is there because of course, because of avichara. But by this avichara, you know, what is it that illumines this avichara? Swata siddha advitiya atmanam avabodha matra upadanatvat vyavrittihi. So this avichara continues until ignorance is there. So ignorance of what? This Atma, Swata Siddha Atma, there is anavabodha. There is no clear understanding of this Atma. So therefore what? Although I, the Atma, Swata Siddha, Swata Prakashaha, self-established, self-illumining, not requiring anything else to illumine me, that Atma illumines the ignorance still, because ignorance continues, suffering continues, and therefore our starting point, which was that from Brahmaji to this blade of grass who avoid suffering, the cause is avidya. And so therefore avidya has to go for my suffering to end. Then suppose if we say, so this is the brilliance of his presentation of the fundamental human problem in the first paragraph itself. Suppose we say, Kabhi Kushi, Kabhi Gum. It was a movie. Let me reconcile with the fact that, life's going to be happy sometimes, life is going to be sad sometimes. It's okay. No, nobody can reconcile with this, because that avidya, it is only concealing our sukha, because we instinctively want to return to what feels normal for us. Sukhasya cha anagama apayinaha aparatantraya atmana swabhavatvat syat bodhaha phidanam. So really speaking, this ignorance, it's not absolutely real. If it was absolutely real, it would never go away. So this ignorance, just like the clouds, seems to conceal the brilliance of the sun. But when the clouds are moved away, then when ajnana nivrittihi, the destruction of ignorance takes place, then samyak jnanam swarupa labha. So you gain, this is praptasya prapti, very strange kind of acquiring. What you are, you gain. But what you are was not known, and therefore it feels like a gain. So this nivritti, ajnana nivritti, takes place only through samyak jnanam, and that must be gained. Shankaracharya writes in the Gita Bhasha, he uses this word samyak jnanam 33 times, again and again, like crystal clear vision of the truth, of the reality, no compromise. And interestingly, he does not use this word in the 11th chapter of the Gita. Okay, Vishwarupa Darshanam. Of course, it is such a great blessing, and it is such a blessing that Arjuna received. And all of us, who are doing mantra sadhana, we do get such visions and such ashirvadaha. But interestingly, Shankara does not use the word samyak darshanam there. So as our Pujya Swami Dayanandji would say, samyak darshanam is that crystal clear knowledge which is without any kind of weakness, any kind of error, and it is without any kind of doubt. So then how can it be known? The self, which is Advaita, which is non-dual, which is one without a second. Can it be known? This Sureshwaracharya is saying, it cannot be known through other pramanas. Pratyakshadi laukika pramana vishayatvat cannot be known. Through pratyaksha perception, adipada, for all the other pramanas, which we will talk about a little later, it is not within the realm of the scope of these means of knowledge. Then what is the means of knowledge for this great Samyak Jnanam? Oh, only Vedanta Agama Vakyad Eva. Eva Pada, we have to underline alone. Only through Vedanta we can. No, somebody will come in some dream. No, only through Agama, only through Shruti as Pramana. So then he goes on to say, I am now going to, after the Sambandhokti of the first, before the first verse and the invocatory prayer, so beautifully and so humbly he writes that I am going to indicate what is already there in the Sampradaya. Okay, like how, modern research presents some great innovation in our Shastra presentations. The more aligned you are to the Sampradaya, that is indicative of greatness. It's a different paradigm actually, that you basically get out of the way because um, because there is no scope for ahankara. You are on Vyasa Pitha, so you just allow the knowledge to flow. So then he says, although it has been explained by others, but in line with the command of my Guru Shikshaya, I am going to write this Naishkarmya Siddhi. So the subject matter is that you are already Siddha, but you appear as Siddhi and Asiddhi. And I want to share one other very beautiful verse he writes, which indicates his humility. So he says that, what has already been said by my Guru to Vedaradhanta Tatra no Vachmi Ashaktitaha Sahasra Kirana Vyapteha Khadyota Kim Prakashayet. So since what has been said by my Guru Uktaha, it is Radhanta, it is final. Na Vachmi. Because why I don't want to say anything more, because I am ashaktitaha. I am not capable of saying anything more. But to illustrate this, he says, what can a khadyotaha? I am like this firefly. What can I, Kim Prakashayat, what can I illumine when there is 1,000 rayed sun? Sahasra Kirana Vyaptehe, it just pervades this, our minds, our lives. So, and then he further says, I am not writing this for khyati, for fame, not for labha, not for any kind of gain, not for puja, so that people worship me, but for the purpose of swabodha parishuddhyartham, just to be able to purify my own understanding and to test it out with other people who are Brahma Vidaha. So only for that. So this is his brilliance, okay? Now the text I said is, 423 verses. It's divided into 4 chapters. The first chapter has about 100 verses, and it primarily deals with how avidya of the Atma is a source of this sense of bondage. So then what is moksha sadhanam? What is the role of karma? What is the role of jnana? So like that, there are a lot of arguments which we will see. Chapter 2 has about 119 verses, essentially focused on Tvam-pada Vichara, inquiry into who that in Tattvavasi, who is that Tvam, who is that I, Tvam as in you, but who is that one that is being inquired into. He says that if that aham is not understood correctly, then aham brahmasmi, I am the limitless, will appear absurd and even sacrilegious. So there's a lot of verses on Atma Anatma Viveka, and where he also distinguishes Anatma in the context of the intellect. Then in chapter 3, there are about 126 verses which discusses what is the adhishthanam of avidya. Is avidya in avidya, or avidya is sustained by Brahman? Okay, and there is an in-depth analysis of the Mahavakya Tattvamasi. He also discusses how the Mahavakya gives knowledge and highlights that no karma or no other siddhi is required. But he also says conditions apply, like in all things, that if there should not be any buddhi dosha. So adhikaritvam, etc., would have been taken care of. Chapter 4 summarizes the first three chapters and has some themes around the life of a Jivan Mukta. So, for the rest of my talk, I will focus on some of the objections and how very beautifully he answers it, and a couple of other themes that we see in the other chapters. So, in chapter 1, our great Purva Pakshi, our Purva Mimamsaka, is indomitable, does not ever give up, keeps insisting that karma is the way to moksha. And if we look around, even now, there are majority of the people say that. They'll say, I will do mantra sadhana, I will get moksha. I will get a Shakti Pat, I will get moksha. I will go for Tirtha Yatra, I will get moksha. So we are still so entrenched in the world of karma, not recognizing what karma can do for us and what karma cannot do for us. We are not against karma at all, but little viveka buddhi is required. Some clarity is required to understand what it can give you, what it cannot give you. And therefore, you can release the burden that you place on a karma for it to deliver certain results. So here, there are three sub themes. Okay, one is that karma will give moksha. Okay, the other is karma and jnanam will give moksha, and then the third one we will come to. So the first objection, the Purva Pakshi. The Purva Pakshi is the opposing view, yeah, and the objection. So what does the Purva Pakshi say? That, okay, I understand Atma Jnanam is there in the Veda, fine. But I think moksha is possible only through karma. There is no need for jnana. So then Acharya answers with 6 points. So one is karma na ajnana nivartakam. You can do any number of karmas, laukika or vaidika. Homas after homas you can do, but it cannot remove avidya. Why? Because in the introduction itself, we saw that karma itself is a product, karyam of self-ignorance. Karma cannot destroy its parent, which is self-ignorance. In fact, karma perpetuates avidya by perpetuating the notion aham karta, aham sukhi, aham dukhi, aham bhokta. I am the doer, I am happy, I am sad, and then I am the experiencer. Oh, I have abhimana, I varnashrama, etc. So all these identities that I pick up and I swear by, karma is perpetuating these identities which are based on avidya. Now, all these functional identities may be required for our functioning in the Vyavaharika Jagat, which is anyway mithya. So, it is important to understand the larger, Paramarthika, Vyavaharika, and Pratibhasika Satyam. Some preparation is required, otherwise people will misunderstand Vedanta. Of course, all that is here is only one Satyam Paramarthika in and through, but these words are used provisionally so that one lives a life of dharma effortlessly. Then you can inquire into what your reality is and all that. So the reply is that karma cannot remove avidya, and therefore moksha is not possible. Then second objection is second reply is that karma gives you anitya phalam. It gives you only finite temporary result. then how it can destroy avidya? Not possible. So how come? Because Acharya says that maximum, whatever karma you do, you can have aptihi, you can acquire something, or you can, the result of a karma can be utpattihi, you can produce something that's not there. It can produce some samskaryam, it can do, it can purify. You have Ganga Snanam, you will get Adrishta Phalam. And you can also modify. Oh, sambar is very, very spicy. Okay, I will add some lemon, or I will add some imli or something, or I'll add water. All this you can do. Okay, that's the backs that you can do with respect to karma and karma phala. But moksha, that is your nature, is infinite, and karma phalam is finite. So therefore, it karma cannot produce nitya moksha. Then why else can karma not lead to moksha? Because karma moksha bhinna phalakam. Karma produces results that are other than moksha. Our very Veda talks about Brahma Loka, Putra, wealth, child, wealth, all this you can get, but there's one long list of what all you want, which are all finite, you can get all that. And there is no ritual, okay? There is no Vaidika karma for moksha. So I remember in, the earliest years of me studying Vedanta, I thought, oh, Veda is so great. Then I went and, I was talking to a Pandit. I said that there has to be, Veda is so great, there has to be, karma, some Vedika karma has to be there for moksha. So for them, of course, moksha is Swarga. He said, for Swarga, there are so many, okay? But how can there be a karma for moksha? Because what you are is Swata Siddha, Swata Prakashaha. So the great Veda has no ritual for moksha, because moksha is already Siddhaha, it is already self-established, it is you. So moksha cannot promise, Veda cannot promise moksha as the result of any kind of karma. Of course, where the phalam is not mentioned, then the Purva Pakshi says that Swarga is the phalam. Then why else is karma not leading to moksha? Because that very Shruti, karma ninditam, karma is criticized by the very Veda as the cause of Janma Marana cycle. So Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam. And that very Veda also says, Na karmana na prajaya dhane na tyage naike amritatvama nashuhu. So neither through karma, nor through praja, children, nor through dhanam, wealth, nor through tyaga, giving up, you will gain amritatvam. So karma is presented as samsara karanam. It is not moksha karanam. And then finally, one more point Acharya says in response to the, one offshoot of the objection, because Purva Pakshi says, I give you a good idea. You avoid kamya karma, all the desires you have, just keep it aside, don't do. So punya is not going to come. And then whatever nishiddha karma is there, you avoid that also. Then papa will also not come. It will all get neutralized. So therefore, you just exhaust all your prarabdha experiences, whatever is there of this lifetime. Karma balance is zero. So you will get moksha. Don't even attend Vedanta class. Okay, so there also he refutes it, because it's, how will you account for the fact that you have so much sanchita karma, punya karma, papa karma sitting in your account from lifetimes? So of course that's going to fructify. So this is, is not tenable at all. And also that, but what we want to say is, in our negation of karma, for moksha, we do recognize that karma is not so useless. Okay, karma is extremely necessary for jnana yogyata praptihi sadhanam. It is So how you're going to get qualifications to do Vedanta Vichara? So karma is very helpful. And because you will do karma with Kaushalam, recognizing that you are blessed with Ichha Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Jnana Shakti, you offer your karma unto Bhagavan, you accept the results as prasada, so much antakarna shuddhi takes place, so much purification of the mind, antakarna naishchalyam, so much steadiness of the mind. So you have the readiness for Vedanta Vichar. Okay, so this was one set of objections which were brilliantly answered by Sureshwaracharya. Then there's another set of objections, which is that, you know what, let's combine the two. Little bit of jnanam, little bit of karma, jnana karma samuchaya, let's aim for that. You attend your Vedanta class, you do your vichara, and you do lots of karma. This combination, that is what is going to help for moksha. So then Acharya responds, he says, no, jnanam bhinna kalaha. So Atmanyanam and karma, they cannot exist at the same time. Why? Because the fact that you're having to do karma, that means your mind is not yet purified. That means Atmanyanam is not there. Suppose Jnanam is there. Then where is the question of you doing karma for the sake of moksha? Because Jnanam is already there. So there is no need for further sadhana. So both jnanam and karma, they belong to two different times. They cannot be combined. Just as youth and old age cannot be combined because they belong to different times. Karma for adhikaritvam, we totally accept. Then what else does Acharya say in response? Jnanam karaka nivartakam. Jnanam negates the duality. Negates means sees that duality is not reality. And so don't take duality as reality. Karma requires lot of karakas. You require karta subject, you require karma object, you require karana instrument, and so on and so forth. All these are called karakams. So karma requires that. Karma requires bahutvam, manyness. And what about jnanam? Jnanam is in spite of bahutvam and dvaita. Jnanam is not destruction of dvaita. Jnanam is recognizing that in spite of dvaita, there is only one without a second in and through all of the manyness. So therefore, dvaita itself is seen as mithya. Since jnanam, atmanyanam, self-knowledge, removes the sense of kartritvam, bhoktritvam, this doership, there is no sense of jnana karma samuchaya. So just like the combination between light and darkness is not possible. So samuchaya meaning reconciling a combination of karma and jnanam is not possible. Okay, what else? Jnanam karma adhikaraha nivartakam. So jnanam negates the qualifications of doing karma. What is the qualification of doing karma? For some karma, they will say Krishna Keshaha. You need to have black hair, okay? But anyway, um, the qualification of doing karma is Varna, Ashrama, Abhimana. You have to identify with Varna, you have to identify with your age and stage of life, and whatever is your karma, what is your desire. So you have to identify with that. And already, if that abhimana, that identification is seen as mithya, then what is the great motivation to do karma? So jnanam has negated all the identities that you have built up on the basis of karma, because all of these identities are seen as mithya. So for functional transactional validity, all that is there. But for the sake of jnanam, it is not acceptable. Then jnanam mumukshutva nivartakam. So jnanam destroys the thirst for moksha. What is jnanam? Aham nitya mukta shuddha buddha swabhavaha. So I am of the nature of ever being ever free, ever illuminating, and ever Shuddha, ever pure. So then, where is the mumuksha? Where is the desire for moksha? It's not there at all. So Jnanam has already removed your desire for moksha. And then Ekashastra Vada Dosha. So the Purva Pakshi says, you accept, right? Veda is one pramana. Yes, I accept. Then Veda is all karma chodana. It is all for the sake of doing karma. So we say, and this is, Shankaracharya's brilliance. He said, the adhikara for the Purva Bhaga is different from the Uttara Bhaga. So the adhikari for this karma uh, is the one who wants certain things. So there is some pravritti lakshana, whereas here there is nivritti lakshana. So definitely it is important. Karma is very helpful to purify the mind, to steady the mind. But then eventually one has to come to moksha as the parama purushartha, the ultimate purpose or aim of life. So we can admit that kramena samuchaya can happen. Focus on karma for a good chunk of your life, get the readiness, and then you do inquiry into Vedanta. And then there's another objection which talks about um, uh, you know, that jnanam is to be considered as a small part. Actually, karma is the emphasis. So, I admit that in Veda, there are some mantras which are talking about um, self-knowledge and all, but by imagining that, your karma will get even more enhanced. So then Acharya replies, Jnanam pratipadanam asti. So there are statements like Atma tarati shokam or Atmavid tarati shokam. The knower of knowledge crosses sorrow. Brahmavid apnoti param. The knower of Brahman gains the limitless. So all these statements that are there, they are a means of liberation. They are not saying that jnanam is a subsidiary to karma. Even this Ishavasya mantra, so kurvan neveha karmani jijivishet, that, oh, you please continue to do karma for your whole life. But please pay attention to the second part of the mantra. Na karma lipyate. So what is he saying? That really speaking, karma does not touch you. But as long as strong deha abhimana identification is there, then of course you please do. Okay. So like that, there are a few more objections and he answers it brilliantly. Then he concludes the first chapter by highlighting that ignorance is the only cause of samsara, this life of becoming, and knowledge is the means of liberation. Mahavakya only can give you moksha and karma cannot. Okay. Then there are some points to be shared on Shruti as a pramana. So he's very clearly, he establishes that. So in many places, in chapter 2, in chapter 3, and also in 4, he highlights why Atma cannot be known through pratyaksha perception and other pramanas. So what does he have to say? So one point is that all of the other pramanas, yeah, perception, pratyaksham, anumana, inference, comparison, upamana, postulation, arthapatti, and anupalabdhi, cognition of absence, their subject matter is not the Atma. Then point 2 is if we look at what is the composition of the different sense organs and the material world. So our sense organs, this beautiful word we have, jnanendriya, give knowledge of the objects of the material world. And each of the sense organs, each jnanendriya is derived from the sattva aspect of one of the pancha mahabhutas. So sound is from akasha, touch is from vayu, and so on. So therefore, the sense organ, the Jnanendriya and the material world, they are made of similar stuff, and therefore the sense organ can only perceive the quality of that material object. So you say, oh, I want to have filter coffee. Okay. So can you say, I can smell this wonderful filter coffee. I want to taste with my eyes. So you are going to burn your eyes. Okay. Please don't do that. So why? Because for tasting only tongue, that is the realm. Okay, this is the scope of operation. You can't say I want to taste coffee with my eyes. It may sound poetic, but it is not. It cannot be taken literally. So sense organs have their own scope of operation. Point three: Atma is different from all objects of knowledge, and all objects of knowledge will only fall within sound and taste and flavor and fragrance and so on. So it can never be known by the senses. In fact, in the Upanishad, it is said Atma is asparsham, arupam, agandham, etc., etc. It can never be known by any of the senses. Then what about inference? What about anumana? Well, for any kind of inference anumana, there has to be a linga, an indicator. Okay, the mountain is really far away, but you see the smoke on the mountain. That smoke becomes a linga, an indicator for one vyapti, for the fact that, oh, wherever there is smoke, there is fire. So although you can't see the fire, the smoke becomes an indicator for fire. So you say, oh, there is a fire, that's your inference. But all inference is based on perception. For Atma, what indicator can you have? So, because Atma is already you, so Atma cannot be inferred. What about Upamana, comparison? Surely that's a very important means of knowledge. So, like, okay, it is helpful if you go to Africa and then somebody says, over there, you will find that the lions are chasing wildebeest. What is that? Wildebeest kya hai? Oh, wildebeest are like deer. So even though you have not seen photograph of wildebeest, you go there and then you see them running around. You say, okay, okay, it's like deer. Okay, I get it. For Upamana, comparison to work in revealing the Atma. Atma has to be compared with something. There are no two Atmas to compare, so cannot be revealed. What about Arthapati, postulation? Because that's based on observation of differences. Person is not eating during the day and then but is still putting on weight, does not have thyroid or any other problems. So then our Arthapati, our postulation is that he must be eating in the night. So still based on some sense data. Now, what are you going to observe about the Atma to say that it is non-dual? So basically, Shruti is the only pramana for the Atma. The Atma is already Svatasiddha, I am. Okay, so Shruti is not required to say Aham Svatasiddha Svata Prakasha. But the errors, the wrong conclusions that I have built up over a period of time because of avichara, Shruti is only negating those conclusions. And what is revealed by the Shruti as a pramana is that it is abadhitam, it cannot be negated. It is anadigatam, that what is revealed by the Shruti cannot be revealed by any other means of knowledge. And also, Shruti is Vastu Tantram. It is true to the object, where it is not Purusha Tantram, it's not dependent on the Purusha. So I want the Atma to be like this. I wish for it like this. This is my interpretation. This is my judgment. Shruti doesn't care for your wishing and willing and wanting. It is true to the object and knowledge is true to the object. Whatever it is, that is all that it reveals. So, since Atma is already Svata Prakashaha, the Shruti just knocks off our wrong conclusions. So, because of what is outward can be known through perception and inference, but compared to that, Atma is as though inward. Nihitam guhayam vibrajate yat yatayo vishanti. Vedanta Vijnana Sunischitartha Sannyasa Yoga Dyataya Shuddha Sattva Nihitam Guhayam Upalabdhi Sthanam, where you consider your I, that is where the Atma is. That Atma, of course, Upalabdhi Sthanam is, oh, you say I, but that I pervades this entire Jagat as Nitya Shuddha Mukta Swabhavaha, that limitless consciousness, Chaitanyam. Then, in the second chapter, where he is analyzing this Tattvamasi, Acharya emphasizes the use of Anvaya Vyatireka. Because he says, your problem is your Tvampata Vichara is not solid. So, therefore, what to do? So, you keep doing Atma Anatma Viveka. How do you do that? By Drigdrishya Anvaya Vyatireka, Sakshi Sakshi, that what is changing and what is not changing. So, what is changing? This world of names and forms, it has some attributes. It can be seen, it can be experienced. The world of names and forms is made up of the Pancha Mahabhutas, and therefore it is subject to changing. It has gunas, and it comes and it goes. On the other hand, Atma, that is you, that Tvam, that Aham, that is not changing. It's free from gunas. So Gita, Bhagwan also says, Nistre gunyo bhava. So although you happen to have this body mind, which is all made of gunas, but may you recognize you are free from gunas. So the Atma is ever free from gunas, ever nirvikaraha, and adrishyam cannot be seen, cannot be experienced. It is you. So this emphasis is there. He spends many, many verses on this. And then he eventually highlights that Shravanam is the main sadhana after sufficient readiness is there. So one objection is raised that what about the role of prasankhana? What about the role of meditation, upasana, and all that? Because that is the thinking, no, these days. That first you listen to theory, then you practice. That is okay for a science experiment, okay, but not for Vedanta. So the Purva Pakshi says it is actually, you know what? You just listen, then that knowledge is paroksha, it is indirect for you. Then when you meditate, you will make it direct for you. So here, Acharya says you cannot, um, this is absolutely wrong. Why? Because meditation, which pramana is operating? If you are repeating Aham Brahmasmi, suppose you can keep repeating it, but if your ignorance has not gone, then no point. And for any pramana to work, do you need to repeat it again and again? For instance, my eyes are closed. I now open my eyes. I see what is there. One time, operation is enough. Okay, do I have to open my eyes again? No, I see yellow. I see yellow. I see yellow. I don't have to do that because repetition means karma. And if you say knowledge takes place in meditation, then the status of Shruti being an independent pramana is negated. So, of course, we recognize utility of meditation, but the question is when? Before knowledge, for stairyam, for your naishchalyam, for antakarna shuddhi, definitely do as much meditation as you want. But Shravanam is only going to take care of your viparita bhavna, asambhavana, any kind of doubts that you may have. After knowledge, this is not required. So finally, Acharya closes with praise to the Guru. He says, who by the stick of his reasoning remove this ignorance and reveals our reality. Guru Guru Pujyaya Tasmai Namaha. Guru Guru to Bhagavad Pada, Jagat Guru, Adi Shankaracharya, Sureshwaracharya, and all of us, we offer our Namaskara Tasmai Namaha. Oh, that's it.
Thank you very much, Swamini for a very wonderful, very brilliant introduction to Naishkarmya Siddhi and to some of the teachings of Sri Sureshwaracharya ji. Thank you very much again for this wonderful inaugural address and starting the symposium with so many wonderful insights and learnings for all of us. Thank you very much.